So in Acts, we find the disciples gathered once again in the upper room. And you would think that they would have figured out by now that they need to be out and about and doing things because Jesus told them to, but here they are. And they are once again afraid and bewildered and uncertain. And this is really important because this story, not just today, but the whole story of Pentecost, is the story of the birth of the church. And it doesn't come in a time where they feel certain and ready and prepared. It comes in fear and uncertainty. Because I think waiting together in that kind of uncertainty can actually be extremely fertile ground for, am I blocking this? My bad. Extremely fertile ground for the breakthrough of spirit, for spiritual transformation. That space of uncertainty is fertile ground. And that is very good news for us. That is very good news for us because as we look around at the world around us, we see chaos and uncertainty and fear, and it feels overwhelming. It feels sometimes like the end of something, an inevitable end that's just looming around the next news headline. And it's normal. The desire to turn against one another and find scapegoats and simple answers and excuses for the world as it is older than humanity. It is built into the most basic and unevolved parts of our brains that we sometimes can't seem to overcome. It is natural, it is not new, but it is extremely dangerous. And we are at a crossroads. Globally, as a society, we are at a crossroads. Nationally, as a country, we are at a crossroads. And as a church, the Big C church, we are at a crossroads where the temptation to scapegoat and fear and turn against one another is so real, so tempting. And the good news is that the Spirit comes in this space. This uncertainty is fertile ground. This is the second time in kind of the flow where they are gathered in the upper room after Jesus has left. In the Sunday after Easter, I got to preach on the upper room again, so here we are again. But Jesus came at that point and he appeared to them and he said, "Peace to you." He brought them peace and reassurance and physical, tangible reassurance for Thomas, who wanted to actually touch him to know he was risen. And then he said, "I send you as the Father sent me." Go, do the thing. I'm giving you peace. Go out. So I'm wondering if maybe a slightly more forceful push was needed. Because here they are in the upper room again, afraid. And this is not a gentle push. The wind comes rushing in as a violent wind. There is fire, and it fills the room. It is all-consuming. It is big and powerful and energetic and not gentle. And I think that this maybe, this is how the church was birthed. And maybe this is how the church needs to be rebirthed in this time of chaos and fear and uncertainty. Not with a gentle push, but with power and energy and transformation. That, I believe, is what the world needs the church to be right now. And not just this church or the UCC or the whole global church, but any movement that is seeking greater life and love and justice and peace is going to have to be disruptive, is going to have to resist and disrupt the powers that feel so pervasive right now, of destruction and dissonance and anonymity and death. And so one of the reasons why Mallory asked me to be here this week, partially because some of you are reading See No Stranger. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, lovely. I got to experience what I would call a present-day Pentecost movement. I got to go on the road with Valerie Kaur for 6 weeks all over the country. And for those of you who aren't familiar with her, I will give a very short introduction because it's wonderful. It's great. Valerie Kaur is an author, an activist, civil rights lawyer, and she founded the Revolutionary Love Project, which is an organization that does amazing things all over the country and beyond, actually. And I kind of fell in love with Valerie when I watched her 2016 speech from a watch night party, I don't know if party is the right word, at William Barber's church. And she asked the question, what if this darkness that we find ourselves in presently is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb? What if the America we are longing to see is not dead, but yearning to be born? And what if it is our turn in a generations-long labor to help birth it now? And I think, forgive me if I start sounding exactly like Valerie. If you have seen any of her speeches, you know that some of that was probably her exact words. I have heard her speak over 40 times, so it's gonna slip in every now and then. But she talks about revolutionary love not as a feeling or a sentiment or something ephemeral, abstract. She talks about it as a fierce and powerful movement. It is transformative, and it takes courage and strength to wield that kind of revolutionary love. And it changes things. And it's not, one of the things that's so beautiful about this is that she makes it practical. She makes it have steps and practices. There are 3 areas of revolutionary love that she talks about. It's love for others, love for yourself, and love for opponents. And the thing that makes it just so compelling is that it is actual practices. So love for others, she calls seeing no stranger, and the practice is to wonder about others, maybe with the same curiosity we might wonder about ourselves. You know, is your internal world as complex as mine? Are your dreams as broad as mine? If you wonder about somebody, they're no longer a stranger. You can say, you are a part of me that I do not yet know. And you can actually try this. I do sometimes, and it's quite fun. People look at you weird, but if you're, in the grocery store or public transportation walking around downtown and you make eye contact with somebody and you say, in your mind, you can say it out loud, but that might be a different experience. Say in your mind, sister, brother, kin, beloved, friend. It really changes the way that you feel connected to those around you. She also talks about love of self, and the practice there is breathe and push. And I love this, because if we are birthing a new world, you can't just push. You're gonna pass out. In any difficult labor, weightlifting, birthing, you have to breathe and push. You have to take moments to appreciate beauty and joy and peace that is available to us, that is around us. I have this practice that when I consume news, I try to consume an equal amount of art and beauty because I need an antidote. I need to balance it out. I need to breathe before I push. And I don't want to just stop listening to the news. But I also don't want to hurt myself. And I think that's fair. Hurting ourselves for the cause is not just. And the last one, and I don't know which is harder, love of self or love for opponents, but this is the last one. And love for opponents has to do with, first of all, just the word opponent as opposed to enemy. Enemy is a fixed position. It is a fixed thing that doesn't change. Opponent is anybody whose views or actions oppose your own. And they might stay your opponent your entire life. They might always be your opponent, but they might not. They might not. It's not about who they are, it's about where they are. It's about what they're doing that makes them an opponent. And that in and of itself is a revolutionary act of love. To see someone as an opponent rather than an enemy. And to recognize that we all have the potential to act out of wounds and pain and fear and misunderstanding. So that practice is called tend the wound, which is a whole other sermon. So I got to travel for 6 weeks on a bus with Valerie Kaur and the Revolutionary Love Project and some amazing musicians. And we went to over 40 cities, almost 50. And I call this a present-day Pentecost movement because of what I witnessed in those rooms. In between the sound checks and the stage setting and the flowers and the tickets and all the things, every time I witnessed the Spirit break in and fill that room. And I recognized it by two things. One, by connection. The disciples were in this room together. There was community in uncertainty. People came to these revolutionary love events seeking something, generally with some sort of heaviness on their heart. And just knowing that they are not alone in that heaviness, that we are not alone in our desire for a transformed world. They received love letters from the stop before them, and they wrote love letters to people they would never meet in the stop after them. And they felt connected. It only takes a very small percentage of the population pushing for one dream for it to become a reality. Revolutions start at a tipping point of about 3%. We know that the majority of the people witnessing this slide into chaos and destruction, and I'm going to say it, fascism, don't want it. This is not the world that we want, one of division and fear and scarcity. They want us to believe, the powers that be. They want us to believe now, as they did in Jesus' time, that we are powerless, that the system is so big that there's nothing we can do. It's not true. We are the majority. We are. And we have to act like we are the majority. And the other element that I've witnessed that made me name this feeling, this experience as a Pentecost moment was the power of it. It is not quiet or soft. Love is not just a rush of sentiment. Love is fierce, bloody, transformative labor. It is, in reality, the only thing that has affected lasting change ever. It is the power of the resurrection over death. Over death. I mean that metaphorically and literally. You can take it either way. So love is not a sentimental feeling only. It is a fiery power, a disruptive and transformative power. And we have to believe that it is. And when we can love others and ourselves and our opponents, we have this access to a love and a power that transforms boundaries and transcends division and transforms lives. What the world needs from the church right now is not more certainty, and it's not more rules, and it's not more power over, that kind of power over. It is that fiery, transformative love that sees no stranger, that brings us back to one another. Our dreams this is a direct quote from Valerie, I should say, our dreams have to be more powerful than their nightmares. They have to be more powerful. They have to be more compelling. They have to be more potent. They have to be more beautiful and graspable and joinable. I don't know if that's a word. Division right now is the point. It's the goal. Chaos and cruelty and overwhelm are the tools that are being used to convince us that we have no power. That's not true. We are powerful. Spirit is powerful. Love is powerful. Powerful enough to change the world. May it be so.